Welcome to Bernie Sanders, the voice for justice and hope. In the first episode of this podcast series, we will explore the life and political journey of one of America's most beloved and also most debated politicians, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was not born into luxury, nor did he have an easy start. He was born in 1941 into a working-class Jewish family in Brooklyn, New York. His parents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, living modestly but always inspiring Bernie. With the values of fairness and solidarity, from a young age he witnessed the hardships and injustices faced daily by workers and the poor. He attended the University of Chicago, where his formative years marked a growth in his political thinking. Bernie began participating in civil rights and anti-war movements during the turbulent 1960s in America. It was during this time that he realized inequality was not merely an individual issue, but a systemic problem that needed change. Bernie's political journey was far from easy. He started from small positions, serving as mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and gradually moved up to become a state senator and later a U.S. senator. Every step he took was driven by a strong belief in social justice, workers' rights, and health care for all. What is admirable about Bernie is his steadfast spirit in the face of difficulties, opposition, and even ridicule. He never hesitated to speak the truth, even when it meant risking losing support from powerful people or political opportunities. Bernie always put the interests of the people above personal or special interest groups. He often quotes the phrase, "Not me, us," a spirit of unity and a reminder that the fight for justice is not an individual's battle but that of the whole community, the whole society. Bernie Sanders has inspired millions, especially young generations, through his sincerity and unwavering commitment to his ideals. Welcome back to the podcast series Bernie Sanders, the voice for justice and hope. Next, we will take a deeper look into one of Bernie Sanders' most prominent and passionate views. Healthcare is a human right, not a privilege reserved for the wealthy. In one of his most famous speeches, Bernie Sanders said, "Healthcare is not a privilege for the rich. It is a human right. Like the right to live, the right to education, and the right to pursue happiness." This is not just a statement, but a powerful declaration, reflecting the deep belief that every person, rich or poor, anywhere in the country, deserves care when they are sick or in pain. However, the reality of the healthcare system in the U.S. is far more complicated. The U.S. is the richest country in the world, yet its healthcare system is a heavy burden for many citizens. Hundreds of thousands of people each year face bankruptcy due to exorbitant medical costs. Many lack insurance or the insurance is too expensive, forcing them to choose between medical treatment and other living expenses. Bernie Sanders not only criticizes this system, but also proposes concrete solutions to build a universal health care system, one where everyone receives care without worrying about the cost. This is the idea behind Medicare for All, a universal health care program covering all Americans. What's special is that Bernie doesn't just talk about statistics or policies. He shares very real and touching stories. For example, the story of a mother who had to choose between buying insulin for her child or paying rent, or the story of a young man severely injured in an accident who was not treated in time because he didn't have sufficient insurance. Bernie Sanders challenges the system by putting people above profits. He strongly opposes the giant insurance and pharmaceutical corporations that have great influence on policies and often prioritize financial gain over the health of the people. Imagine a society where you don't have to fear illness, where doctors make treatment decisions based on medical ethics, not insurance contracts or your ability to pay. Such a society would create true fairness and help improve the quality of life for everyone. And more importantly, it is about valuing people, not because they are wealthy or powerful, but because they exist, because they are members of this society, deserving protection and care. We will delve into the journey of Bernie Sanders, a man who has always stood by the working class and the middle class, tirelessly fighting for economic justice and the rights of those without a voice in society. Bernie Sanders firmly believes that America must be a place where every worker is treated fairly and receives a wage that truly reflects their effort. He was one of the first politicians to strongly advocate for raising the federal minimum wage, a policy that has now become a hot topic in political debates. He didn't just talk. Bernie took action. He continuously lobbied in Congress to improve working conditions, protect workers' rights, and ensure that everyone could live well on their own earnings. He understood the stark difference between the interests of large corporations and the interests of ordinary people, those who go to work every day, building the country with their hands and minds. Bernie also stood alongside workers' protests and movements fighting for their rights and respect in the workplace. He often spoke about fair taxation on the wealthiest individuals and the giant corporations with enormous profits to generate resources that support social programs like healthcare, education, and social welfare. Bernie Sanders' story is the story of the people, of the forgotten, oppressed, and marginalized workers. He fearlessly spoke the truth about the growing wealth gap and how current policies often favor a small elite rather than the majority of the population. He has inspired millions of Americans, especially young people, to stand up and join social justice movements. Bernie is not just a politician. He is a symbol of perseverance, belief in the power of community, and hope for a better future. After exploring Bernie Sanders' life, views, and relentless contributions, now let us look toward the future he envisions, a future of fairness, hope, and trust. Bernie Sanders once said, "We cannot accept a society where the rich keep getting richer while millions of others struggle to survive." He dreams of an America where everyone, regardless of class, race, or background, has an equal opportunity to grow and live their fullest life. It is a society that leaves no one behind. The future Bernie envisions is not an unattainable dream. It begins with small changes: universal health care, free college education, environmental protection, and fair job opportunities for workers. He challenges each of us to rethink how we view society and the responsibilities we hold as individuals and as a whole community. Bernie does not just want to change the political system. He wants to spark a human movement, an awakening to the values of justice and compassion. Bernie Sanders teaches us that although we may not be perfect and the path may be full of challenges, it is never too late to stand up and fight for what is right. He is a living example of the power of will and faith. A person who never stops speaking for the forgotten and vulnerable. Someone who does not back down before difficulties and opposition. And most importantly, Bernie inspires us to know that every small action we take can create a big difference. When we stand together, we become the power to change the world. As we conclude this podcast series, I invite you to reflect on the question Bernie always asks: what kind of society do we want to live in? A society that is fair, full of love and responsibility to one another, or a society where only a few enjoy, while the majority struggle every day? Thank you for joining me on this journey exploring the life and ideals of Bernie Sanders. If you feel inspired, please share this podcast with many others. Be the one to keep the flame of justice and hope burning in our society. And remember, not me, us. It's not me, but us. If you love Bernie Sanders, please like and subscribe to follow Bernie Sanders.